Welcome to the Amazing Authorities Podcast, where game changers, visionaries, and category leaders share how they built their brands, platforms, and global influence. Your host is Mitch Carson, international speaker, media strategist, and creator of the Instant Authority System. If you're ready to learn from those who've done it and want to become the go-to expert in your space, you're in the right place.
Today's expert is Kendra Corman. Welcome to the Amazing Authorities. And she truly is an authority. And her podcast is all about irregular marketing. But what I have found in our discussion before we began today is she's an expert in a category that's super timely that I want to dig deep into today. But Kendra, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
I'm going to just put you right into the frying pan because I think you can dance very quickly. You're from Michigan. I'll say Troy, Michigan, not Detroit. Outside of that, let's say a suburb of. AI is everywhere today. AI, artificial intelligence, I think they're taking over the world. Can you demystify that with let's say an employee in a particular sector? What has happened to him or her? And I'm going to leave my pronouns to him and her today.
Okay.
I'm not paying attention to more.
So I would say that there's two paths people have been taking in the world of work, right? There's the people that are embracing AI, and then there's the people that are very hesitant and a little bit worried and not embracing it as much because they're worried it's actually going to take their jobs.
Yes.
Or they just don't want to learn something new, right? But I actually did a presentation last week where someone walked up to me afterwards and she said, you know what you said really resonated with me. I've been avoiding AI because I thought it was going to take my job. She works for a nonprofit and does like 7 different things. And she's like, you know what? No, my to-do list is never done. I have a lot of expertise in this. AI is not going to replace that. AI is just going to help me get more done. And then I can make a bigger impact. And so I see people really just getting more done and being able to find time to think and strategize and innovate. I mean, ultimately, my big perspective on AI is that it's going to take away the work about work. It is not going to replace what we do or the innovation we come up with. And that's the really cool part about AI.
Okay, well, give me an example. Recently, you conducted a workshop within the community, one of the communities there in Greater Detroit, and you affected results. Tell me about those results and how it's will change the lives of these business owners, or in this particular case, it was a group of synagogues.
Yeah, a group of synagogues. So there were different sized synagogues. There were large ones and there were smaller sized ones that had small teams. And we did a little bit of an overview presentation of AI. There was definitely one person who said she's never going to use AI. And I'm like, that's fine. Okay. I'm not sure why you came. But then the rest of the group was embracing it. And they were asking questions. And one of the people at one of the synagogues she's the events manager for everything. She was at a table with other events managers, and there were like 3 or 4 from one synagogue, 2 from another, but she was the only one at this small synagogue that runs all these events. And a lot of the department heads that do programming do events, and she just helps support them. And so we actually created a process for her while we were there that gave her a form that could be customized for each event right out of ChatGPT, emailed over to the organizer so that she had all the information that she needed and a checklist for them so that she could actually spend less time talking to them and meeting with them and going through all the stuff that she needs. And it just really created a process and a flow that's actually going to be automated in probably a couple of weeks and go from there. But think about the impact that can have with small businesses, nonprofits, even large businesses. when you're able to take a person and make them almost a person and a half or two people, and get them so much more work done, right? And
So
save
quantity of
time on
work
questions.
saves time and optimally saves money for the organization that's
Mhm.
employing this AI expert. So this myth of it's replacing me is not true. All it is doing is speeding up the already speedy process that we're programmed to operate in prior to AI. Now just allows us to accelerate.
Exactly. And that's the really cool piece, right? It's getting rid of some, I mean, don't get me wrong, I do believe that some jobs will eventually go
Of
away,
course.
because that happens, right? I mean, we no longer have switchboard operators, right? Because our phones do other magic on the way and call each other. So nobody's really operating switchboards anymore. Those jobs do go away a little bit with technology, but the people that know how to use the new technology, they're not going anywhere. Nobody's taking the jobs.
You mentioned that that's an antiquated business. My first job in high school, now I'm going to date myself, was a part-time telephone operator for elite people in Beverly Hills, California. I worked for this agency, and Zsa Zsa Gabor was one of the clients, who was an old
That's
Hollywood
so cool.
actress. Yes, and I used to plug it in and say, "Hold on, please," and do this. This is my part-time afternoon job, and boy, that was a level of service that doesn't exist today. And an
Hmm.
AI can easily replace that in many cases. We have
Hmm.
these, voicemail came and, on a machine, and look how it's evolved. Who knows what will happen 5 years from now?
Right. And so the quicker that you start learning and adapting and integrating AI into your daily life, the better off you're going to be. So even if your company that you're working for, or because there's a lot of companies that don't let you use AI, or they haven't invested in that private AI system yet, or maybe they don't pay for Microsoft Copilot and that's the only one you're allowed to use. I mean, there's a million reasons why some people are limited at work on leveraging AI. Well, I tell those people, okay, then start using AI, in your personal life. Do meal planning. Do take your grocery list, take a picture of it, have it organize it by department, have it organized by how you go through the grocery store. Whatever that is that can help you save time, and get you thinking differently and having it almost work as your personal assistant, the better off you're going to be in the long run.
You talked about ChatGPT, which was the first big splash AI that came in 2022. I think it was November or December, because I know that I produced the very first worldwide live in-person event on ChatGPT February 6th of 2023. What's happened since then?
Wow. Nothing doesn't have AI anymore. Right. So the Claude came out, or Anthropic came out with
Gemini.
Claude, Gemini came out, and Gemini was actually existed before ChatGPT. Google just didn't want us to have that power because they were like, that's just too much for people. So they actually sort of kept it back,
Well, it
and
hurts
didn't
hurts the
launch it
Google
as.
search, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Perplexity is one of those ones that really hurts Google search. So then Search Labs opened up and they started doing AI generated searches, and um, m- more automation between Zapier and Make.com, and those automation softwares jumped in. Jotform and other companies are building AI agents. And then you could start building custom projects in Claude and custom GPTs in ChatGPT that can basically learn on all your stuff and answer questions for people. Again, getting rid of that work about work and a lot of that administrative piece. Copilot went through the roof after that. Microsoft really went heavy, but behind Copilot is ChatGPT, because that's where Microsoft made their investments. And so most of the new systems that I've seen coming out are based on one of the existing ones, one of those first Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude. A lot of them are ChatGPT based, um, which is actually pretty cool because that means you can invest in less software and less systems because you're actually able to create that. Um, if you know how to ask it the right questions and talk to it in the right way.
Yeah, I've got a buddy here who has invested heavily into GPTs for ChatGPT. I'm going to have to introduce you to because you'll maybe
Yeah.
want to arm yourself with some of them that he's invested in. He's got an arsenal of GPTs to use and surrounding all sorts of niches. You just plug this in and it plays out. I mean, a lot of it is inputting the right information and so you can get garbage in, garbage out. You remember that old expression?
I use it all the time on a
Oh,
daily
okay.
basis, it feels like.
So is ChatGPT your go-to tool?
Actually, since 90% of what I do is writing, I actually use Claude.ai a lot more often than ChatGPT. But ChatGPT is like the Swiss Army knife for me. It does a lot of different things. So I will go to it for, um, again, for my custom GPTs, for different things that I want to share and make public. And so it helps me there. But for writing and things like that, I prefer Claude.
When you say
And so,
writing, are you
mhm.
books?
So I actually did write a book, Mastering AI in Communications. And I used ChatGPT for that one
Okay.
because I wasn't familiar with Claude yet. But I basically took a transcript from a couple of webinars that I had done, took those transcripts, plugged it into ChatGPT, had it help me organize my thoughts, had it help me build out chapter by chapter. I edited it heavily and added more examples. But yeah, I've written a book with ChatGPT.
Did you
But
then upload it to Amazon and
mhm,
create or okay.
yeah, it's
Did you,
available on Amazon. I'm working on a new edition that's going to have more pieces on it right now. Because that came out in February of 24. So,
did you make it a
quite a while
bestseller?
ago. No, I did not. And that was by design. I really actually did it as a like a inexpensive giveaway.
Okay.
As part of my talks and as part of my contract when I present on I include a certain number of books in my fee.
Ah, smart. That's a good way to distribute books. You know, and a shameless plug, one of the things I do because I teach people how to write books. It's one of the
Mm-hmm.
AI is a tool. That's why I was curious what avenue you went. Is I also ensure that they become international bestsellers as part of their output because it's a nice
It's very
badge to
cool.
have on the book. Yeah, that's my shameless
Definitely a nice
plug
badge.
mid podcast.
There
So,
you go. Perfect. Well, it's important, again, you got to think about what your goal is when you're writing the book. Mine, I just wanted to say I wanted to get more speaking gigs, so all I needed was a book.
and that's so perfect. That's so perfect. Tell us what results you've had because you wrote the book and positioned yourself as the expert on AI in your market there, and it could expand wider because you've positioned yourself well within a niche within a niche. It's
Mhm.
the religious niche in the Jewish community. And there are only 16 million Jews worldwide, but my gosh, how wonderful would it be if you were the go-to person for that niche within the niche?
That'd be pretty cool. That'd be more business than I can handle, right? So, yeah. So after writing the book and going out and pitching myself to do presentations, I really only had to pitch myself a couple of times. Once I did a couple of presentations packed houses, which was amazing. Then basically almost everything else comes to me now. I get
So
phone
were
calls
you
and
are you a
emails
keynote
regularly.
Are you a keynote speaker? Are you
Um,
selling a
I
program or is it okay?
I have done I've done one big keynote to about 600 people, and
Hmm.
then rest of it I'm usually I lead breakouts or workshops. It's so I'm hired for individual sessions and smaller events inside companies as additional training for them and do training and speaking on that.
And that's due to your book.
Hmm. Yep, I can trace almost all of it back to the fact that I have the book.
All right. May I ask if you're willing to share
Mhm.
what kind of an ROI was that? Is there a figure that you can assign to it? Because I wrote the book, it caused this amount of income. If you're comfortable sharing that.
I'm doing math. I'm doing math.
Yes.
It's well over $20,000.
Okay. And
And
I
that's
will,
again since February of 24.
all right. So that's all right. That's
And
20K.
it's
And
in
then
addition, yeah, to the
in
regular
addition,
stuff I do.
got it. Well, tell us about the most irregular method. Switching gears a little bit. Tell us about the most irregular method, hence your podcast. I'm giving you your plug for your podcast. I was a guest on your podcast, now
Yeah, thank you.
reciprocating. What is the most effective means to market someone's business today? That's a very big topic, but it's
It's
one
a
of
very
the,
big topic, but it's awesome.
but I'm going to
So
let you pick it.
I actually did a email newsletter to my list recently on what I would do if I started over.
Okay.
Um, Number one, first thing I would do is start my email newsletter on day one, not be comfortable in the business that I had and the referrals that I was getting to the point where I didn't invest in my business and in my email list when I started over 11 years ago, which is crazy because I made everybody else do it, all my clients and everything. And then two, I would immediately start my podcast and build my followers that way. Um, Even though, again, it was 11 years ago, the amount of traction that I could have gained in that time would have been amazing. Um, my podcast is my number one lead generator for my email list, and my email list is my number one revenue generator.
How often do you email?
Once a week.
Once a week. Okay. So that's the
If
way that
I'm
you get
if
an
I'm
ROI.
launching, I'll do a little bit more, but yeah. Mhm.
Okay. LinkedIn?
LinkedIn is definitely my go-to social media network, along with YouTube. So I'm working on building my YouTube channel,
Aren't we all?
because right? Exactly, because that's where it's at is video. So the podcast feeds my YouTube channel. I'm working on some additional videos to supplement my podcast, but you get an amazing reach with channels like YouTube and LinkedIn. And I've found that those are the platforms that I'm most comfortable with. And I'm glad that that's where I'm investing my time.
Fantastic. And if you were to, I'm going to give you a challenge. Joe Lawyer has decided that he's tired of his partners and wants to break off and start his own law practice. Let's bring this down to the ground level. So Joe has worked, he's got a tough personality, but he's good at his job. What would be the top 5 steps or top steps? I won't give a number in order to effectively get clients. And he's a PI lawyer, a very
Okay.
crowded space. So I'm putting you
Yes.
on the spot here, but I know you can handle it, Kendra.
Got it. So, with personal injury lawyers, one of the best ways to do that is through referrals.
Okay.
So, the nice thing is he's not going to be starting empty, right? Because he's already got a network of other attorneys that are not personal injury attorneys, and attorneys have an amazing culture of referrals. So, that is a fantastic place to be because they will automatically refer people to him because they know he'll handle the work really well. So he's already starting in a great place. But then you got to think, okay, what do you want your focus to be? And if there's any niche that he wants to focus on, some angle. I've seen personal injury lawyers that focus on truck accidents and others that focus on car accidents and others that focus on medical incidents. And so there's a ton of different areas to focus in, and focusing really does help. Um, I would start his email list pretty much right away where he could share and answer questions on a regular basis. And that would be fed from his podcast that I would recommend that he do between 15 and 30 minutes in length, not taking a ton of time out of his day, but answering a couple of commonly asked questions so that we're building his website with search, building his YouTube again with search and answers. And so that way people are building that know, like, and trust factor from the beginning
So
because
let
they're
me
going
let
to
me
know,
just
like, and
dig on
trust him.
the YouTube question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recommend that he upload his podcast to his YouTube channel as well, not just Spotify and iTunes?
Yes. Yes. YouTube is becoming one of the largest podcasting channels
Okay.
out there.
All right. Please continue. So after his podcast, his email
Yes.
list, his
So
networking with other lawyers,
again,
which is great.
he's got to do lawyerly work on, at some point. So we really want to focus on what that is. So the podcast is going to be the base content that's going to feed the email newsletter, and it's going to feed his social media. I tell people to pick a channel, especially someone that's a little bit more narrowed, like our buddy Joe here is. And I tell them to pick an area that they're comfortable with, right? So if you prefer Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever that channel is, pick one of them. There's enough people on all of those that you can connect with that it doesn't matter which one for the
Okay.
most part as to which you pick, because you're going to have a big enough audience that can refer and connect and things like that. So if Joe's been building his LinkedIn, I'd say stick with LinkedIn. If Facebook is where he spends most of his time, then I would recommend Facebook or TikTok. Again, whichever one it is that you're spending most of your time where you're comfortable, because you don't want to hate it. You don't want it to become extra work. But the podcast feeds all of that. And we would leverage AI to take the podcast transcript, to write the email, to write the social posts, and keep going. The show notes, all this stuff. And it's all his content, right? Because all we did is take some frequently asked questions. He answered it, and we were able to really 10x his content in a fraction of the time. So now he's spending an hour a week on marketing and then doing his networking events when he can, versus more than that, which I think some people are spending an hour a day.
They are, and
Yes.
and overwhelmed by the feeling of, oh my gosh, it's the drudgery of
And I have to
marketing.
be everywhere. And it's like, no, you don't. Pick what's right for you.
I like that. Narrow it down to one, LinkedIn, or maybe it wouldn't be TikTok, but my feeling about TikTok has changed because I know many people who are business people of your age all the way through mine that are using TikTok effectively. Well, that's a tongue twister, and making bank.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a fan of
Yes.
TikTok?
I don't use it for work 100%. I was posting on it. I am posting. I'm posting on it again. But because it went away for a little bit, and so I stopped
Mm.
sending anything there. But from a personal standpoint, yes, I do I follow a ton of educational creators and AI creators, and that's really how I actually started to learn how to play around with AI, was watching little TikToks. They were fantastic. That's where I get a lot of my news, and that's where I just go for some mindless stuff.
Got it. Oh, mind escapes, and it is good that you learn hooks and so forth. Tell me about would Joe be a candidate? This fictitious lawyer, would he
Mhm.
be a candidate for a book?
Yes, 100%. Who are you going to hire? An attorney that wrote a book or didn't write a book? I mean,
Um,
that it comes down that they're close, right? You're gonna a book gives you automatic authority that you just don't have otherwise. And so, he could make that book available at chiropractors' offices, um, at some maybe clinics that focus on injuries, pain clinics, things like that. He could partner with some of those people, give free books to them that they could put on display. And oh, by the way, it's got a call to action. If you've been injured, like, call me for a free consultation or whatever it happens to be. And he can even talk a little bit about how it works, that if you don't get any type of winnings, you don't owe anything, right? He takes a percentage of what you're awarded,
sure. Yeah. No fee. We work
right?
for free, and there's no fee. I've heard all
Hmm.
the
Oh
rings.
yeah,
That's great.
that's pretty standard for personal injury.
How would he embrace AI?
Um, so he's an attorney, which means he's
Yes.
very picky on words. So he needs to use it though to take his content and build on it. So that's why I recommend starting with the podcast, because it'll use his words, right? It's got his words, his mannerisms, and how he talks in it, which will allow his email and his social posts to be very conversational. Attorneys are notoriously
Oh
wordsmithing
gosh.
people.
Yes.
Yeah, like we got $10 words here,
You
right?
mean verbose?
Very, very verbose, yes. And they like to change all the words. So when they're doing that, I find that it's really easy to train AI on words not to use. So if you don't like some of those simpler words and you want to use those bigger words, you can tell it to do that. You can tell it that it's an attorney and that it likes to use words like, and you can give it a list and you can say, we don't like these words. I actually have a words not to use list that I train all of my AIs on that includes the word crucial, deep dive deep in today's world,
How about
today's
unlock?
dynamic world. On what?
Unlock.
Oh, I don't know if I don't think I get that a lot in my responses.
do.
So I haven't added that yet. You gotta
Unlock
add
the
that to yours.
potential. Unlock
Oh,
this. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like ChatGPT spews that out.
I get crucial. Like that's probably my number one word right now.
Crucial. You don't like crucial. Okay.
No, I used to. And then I got it on every single output. I'm like, okay, we're done.
Oh, all right. Well, you reached the
And
ceiling.
now I'm removing here's the deal for my social posts. I'm like, we don't need here's the deal anymore. I'm done.
Here's the deal. ... Okay. All right. Well, you're talking to a former journalist. That's why I love talking about words and how they're used and what you can and cannot do. And the one that gets me is when people write irregardless. It's not a word.
Not a word.
No. And between you and I, no, it's always between you and me. I could go on. That could be a separate podcast discussion in its entirety.
Well, it really annoyed me actually. So when ChatGPT first came out, it was trained on the internet. So it was trained wrong on a lot of different things, right? So punctuation goes inside the quotation marks.
Yes.
Like it just does.
100%. And
I don't
ChatGPT
care
is
what
making that error?
100% of the time. Nope, it does not anymore. They actually fixed that. I'm like, I don't know if it was all my complaints on social media or not, but I'm also adjunct faculty at a local university, and I'm telling my students, I'm like, if the punctuation's outside the quotation marks, you get a 0. Because it's like, no, we got to use grammar here.
You're
people.
a stickler as well. Yeah, immediately. I won't buy something if people use it incorrectly or between you and I. No, it's never between you. And you have a master's degree? Please. So.
Exactly.
Well, Kendra, thank you for this. How can people best get in touch with you to maybe attend one of your workshops or buy your home study course on AI? Because this is a way that you benefit and they can benefit and learn from somebody who studied AI, and it's changing constantly.
It is. It changes constantly. So one of the best ways is to connect with me on LinkedIn. You can visit kendracorman.com/LinkedIn, and it'll redirect you to my LinkedIn profile. It's Kendra with a K and Corman with a C. So kendracorman.com. And then you can actually get my free AI playbook, which is at kendracorman.com/AI playbook, all one word. And it'll give you a little bit of a playbook on how to use AI in your marketing communications.
Well, then that's fantastic. That's great. Well, you've been a superb guest, as expected. I remember our experience when the roles were reversed. And people, she was an amazing authority today. Little applause from the crowd of one right here on this. Yes, we'll do the little shake, the TikTok dance. That's great. Kendra, thank you so much for attending. And your husband was not an issue. So we had a great interview today and recording. And I'll let you know.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And we will do this again when AI has another evolution, because I will be.
Which will probably be next week.
Oh my gosh. Well,
right? It's like 30 days.
We'll let it breathe a little bit and we'll have you back.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to the Amazing Authorities Podcast. If today's episode inspired you, take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps more experts like you rise to the top. For behind-the-scenes access and free resources to boost your authority, head to mitchcarson.com. Until next time, stay amazing.